Hello, everyone. Today, I want to share with you a special story, the story of an old merchant's final lesson. Have you ever wondered, after a lifetime of business, after all the ups and downs of life, what truly matters most? In the ancient city of Samarkand, where the old Silk Roads once intersected, there lived a merchant named Hassan. He had spent 40 years trading across nations, from the bustling markets of Turkey to the quiet seaports of Italy. Hassan was not only wealthy in material possessions, but more importantly, he was rich in life experiences. When Hassan reached the age of 65, he began to feel a change within himself. It wasn't weakness, but rather a new kind of wisdom. The wisdom of someone who had experienced enough to understand life's true values. And in today's video, we'll explore together the 5 invaluable lessons Hassan passed on to his son before retiring. Hassan called his son Amir to his side and said, "My son, I have spent my entire life accumulating wealth, but now I realize that the greatest treasure is not gold or silver, but the lessons I have learned." Amir, a 25-year-old young man eager to take over his father's business, listened intently. The first lesson Hassan shared was about patience. "You know," he said while holding a handful of precious pearls, "these pearls were not created in a day. They need years, even decades to form. Our lives are the same. I was hasty in my early years, always wanting everything to happen immediately. But my greatest successes all came from patiently waiting and nurturing." Hassan told about the first time he invested in a precious shipment from China. That shipment took 8 months to arrive, and throughout that time, Hassan had sleepless nights worrying about his major investment. But when the shipment arrived, he smiled, the profit was 5 times the initial capital. From then on, I understood that in business, as in life, the most worthwhile things often require time. The second lesson was about the value of relationships. Hassan led Amir through the shelves full of goods and pointed to a portrait. "This is Ahmed, a friend I met 30 years ago at a small market in Damascus. Back then, Ahmed was just a poor pottery seller, and I was also just a young merchant with little to my name. But we helped each other," Hassan continued. "I lent Ahmed some money to expand his business, and Ahmed introduced me to reliable suppliers. Today, Ahmed has become one of the largest pottery merchants in Damascus, and our friendship has brought both of us not only business profit, but also great happiness in life." Hassan looked directly into his son's eyes and said, "My son, throughout my years in business, I have met people who only cared about immediate benefits. They might succeed in the short term, but eventually they become lonely and fail. But those who know how to invest in relationships, who genuinely care about others, they will have a strong and sustainable support network." As the afternoon sun gradually faded, Hassan and Amir sat together on the old wooden chair that he had used to count money for many years. "Now you understand the first 2 lessons about patience and the value of relationships," Hassan said gently. "But the journey to understanding life's wisdom holds even deeper truths. I will share with you about the power of gratitude and how it changed my life." As night fell and oil light from ancient lamps created dancing shadows on the wall, Hassan began sharing the third lesson, the power of gratitude. "You might think gratitude is just a simple emotion," he said while pouring tea into 2 delicate cups. "But actually, it's one of the most powerful tools I've discovered in my lifetime." Hassan told about a difficult period in his life, about 15 years ago, when a large shipment was attacked by pirates in the Mediterranean. I lost almost all of my savings, he recalled in a calm tone. I was 50 years old then, felt like my life was collapsing. I could have chosen to give up or be angry with fate. But one night, while I was sitting in the small house I had to rent after selling our big house, I saw Amir, you were only 10 years old then, diligently doing homework under dim light. You never complained about having to move, never felt sad. You just focused on your studies with a smile. Hassan paused, his eyes softening as he looked at Amir. Right then, I realized that although I had lost my wealth, I still had the most precious thing, my family. I still had my health to start over. I still had knowledge and experience. From that night on, instead of complaining about what I had lost, I started being grateful for what I still had. Gratitude changed how I viewed life, Hassan continued. Each morning when I woke up, I no longer thought about what I lacked, but about what I had. I was grateful for having a new day to try. I was grateful that friends like Ahmed still trusted and were willing to help me. I was grateful for the lessons that failure had taught me. The fourth lesson Hassan shared was about simplicity in happiness. He pointed toward a small corner of the shop where there was a small table with a teapot and 2 cups. Do you see this little corner? This is where I feel happiest in this house. After rebuilding my life, I could have bought a bigger house, decorated it more lavishly. But I learned that true happiness doesn't come from complex or expensive things. It comes from simple moments, like drinking tea with my son after a day's work, like hearing birds sing in the morning, like seeing customers' smiles when they're satisfied with products. Hassan stood up and opened a small chest, taking out an old notebook. This is a journal I've kept for the past 10 years. Each day, I just write down one simple thing that made me feel happy. Some days it's because of beautiful weather. Some days it's because I met a kind customer. Some days it's because you cooked a delicious meal for me. The wonderful thing is, Hassan smiled, when I started paying attention to these small things, I realized my life was full of beautiful moments that I had previously overlooked. I had been too busy making money, expanding business, that I forgot true happiness was right beside me. Amir listened attentively, sometimes nodding in understanding. Hassan noticed this and continued. You see, during the years I was chasing success, I thought happiness would come when I had enough money, when I became the richest merchant in the city. But when I achieved those things, I felt empty instead. Therefore, true happiness is knowing when you have enough and appreciating what you already have. When the call to prayer from the mosque rang out, announcing the final prayer time of the day, Hassan stood up and looked out the window. The final and perhaps most important lesson I want to pass on to you, he said solemnly, is about legacy, the inheritance we leave behind. Have you ever wondered, when we are no longer here, what will be remembered about us? The fifth and final lesson Hassan wanted to pass on was about legacy and life's meaning. He led Amir to the small garden behind the shop, where there was an old pomegranate tree, planted 20 years ago. Do you see this pomegranate tree? Hassan asked while touching the tree's rough bark gently. When I planted it, I didn't think I would enjoy its fruits. I just knew that perhaps someday someone would enjoy the shade and harvest from this tree. And just as I thought, Hassan smiled. Now not only our family, but also the neighborhood children like to come here to pick pomegranates in autumn. This tree has become part of the community, bringing joy to many people. That is the meaning of legacy. Not what we keep for ourselves, but what we give away to make this world better. Hassan sat down on the wooden chair under the tree and gestured for Amir to sit beside him. I spent 40 years in business, and I'm proud of the successes I achieved. But now, looking back, I realize that what I'm most proud of is not the money in the safe, but the people I helped succeed in life. I remember once meeting a boy named Omar, about 12 years old, who was begging in front of the shop. Instead of giving him a coin, I invited him to work, cleaning the shop, organizing goods. I taught him to read, write, and calculate. Now, 15 years later, Omar has become a successful merchant in the neighboring city. He regularly writes to me, telling about his happy life with his wife and children. That's when I realized, Hassan gazed toward the horizon, true wealth is not what we accumulate for ourselves, but the positive impact we create for others. Every time I help a young person learn new skills, every time I share experience so someone can avoid mistakes I made, every time I lend money without interest so someone can start a business, those are my real assets. Amir had listened to his father throughout the afternoon and evening, and now he couldn't help but be moved by these profound sharings. "Father," Amir said with a choked voice, "I thank you for sharing these precious lessons. I understand that true success is not only measured by wealth, but also by how I live and what I contribute to life." Hassan placed his hand on his son's shoulder and said, "My son, now I have passed on to you the most important things I learned in life. But remember, knowledge only has value when applied in practice. I hope you will not only remember these lessons in your head, but live by them every day. Be patient in everything you do, because the most beautiful results need time to ripen. Invest in relationships, because life would be meaningless without human connection. Always be grateful for what you have, because gratitude will open the door to happiness in your soul. Find joy in simple things, because they are always available around us. And most importantly, live so that your life has meaning, leaving good things for the next generation." As the story of Hassan and his final lessons comes to an end, I want to spend a few minutes reflecting with you on what we've just discovered together. The lessons from an old merchant's life experience may sound simple, but they contain profound truths that we, at any age, can apply to our own lives. Patience is not just about waiting, but about trusting the process. The value of relationships lies not only in economic benefits, but in sharing and supporting each other in life. Gratitude is not just a positive attitude, but a way of seeing that helps us recognize the blessings we have. Simplicity and happiness doesn't mean living in deprivation, but knowing how to appreciate ordinary moments. And the legacy we leave behind is not just material wealth, but positive impacts on others' lives. I sincerely hope that today's story has brought you meaningful reflections. Perhaps among you, some are in their 60s, 70s, or even 80s, having experienced many ups and downs in life. Hassan's lessons might help you look back at your own journey with a new perspective, full of pride and gratitude. Please share with me in the comments which of Hassan's 5 lessons impressed you the most. Was it patience, the value of relationships, gratitude, simplicity and happiness, or the meaning of legacy? I very much look forward to reading your sharing. If today's video was helpful to you, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss other meaningful stories. Remember that at any age, we can still learn, grow, and create positive impacts. I wish you all health, happiness, and may you always find meaning in your life.